You're listening to Shift, Human First Financial Guidance with Ross Marino.
Today, we are shifting the conversation with Wilbur Swan. Good morning, Wilbur.
Good morning, Ross.
Glad to have you on the show today. Let's take the first 60 seconds. If you could introduce who you are and tell us a little bit about Catchlight.
Sure. Wilbur Swan, CEO of Catchlight. We are part of Fidelity Labs, where we are one of the startups that is underway. We have been working on this since 2018 with the mission of how do we help advisors accelerate organic growth? How do you make what some people call marketing, some people call sales, better and more efficient through the use of really unique data about households and individuals, combined with powerful AI to suggest really meaningful next best actions with prospects and with segments of prospects, leading to more efficient growth, less time, but better outcomes. Basically, the old adage of how do you work smarter, not harder.
So I know I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I've had different fits and starts at marketing. I'm not real good at it, which is kind of tongue in cheek. We do very little at this point because we just focus on referrals. And part of that is I've done the mass marketing in the past. It's kind of agonizing. It's time consuming. I have no idea if it's really being effective. Maybe you get a couple leads, maybe you don't. I've always struggled with it. And in general, traditional mass marketing doesn't have a great reputation out there. And I know you guys are attacking that problem. But before we talk about that part, why has traditional mass marketing been so frustrating and, for the most part, ineffective for financial advisors?
Yeah, I think, the advisors we speak to generally are thinking of marketing and, in the way that they can, given the time that they can allocate to it, which means that it takes kind of a one size fits all approach. So, some of the classic challenges we hear are, they might be speaking to someone who they don't know very well, but it turns out that person is actually 30 years old and not 50 years old. Might have a great profile to be their next great client, but they're sending them materials about, how do you prepare for retirement, when there's a different set of conversations to be had there. So the more you can know about the individuals that you consider either your pool of referrals or the pool of people you know, or the pool of people you'd like to know, the more you can know about those individuals, the more you can craft some tailored conversations with them that actually have a higher chance of resonating with them.
I know with my clients, I can categorize them and I can figure out who's pre-retirement, who's retired, who's a business owner, who's a widow. I can get that information after their clients. Seems a little tougher with prospects. And yes, we've had that issue where you have a conversation with someone. And now, of course, in the age of Zoom, it gets a little bit faster. The person pops up on the screen and I think, wow, they're half my age. Didn't see that coming, right? You get it a little quicker, right. But with so many prospects out there, there's just so little information in general that I would have just from maybe going to LinkedIn. It's not enough, but you guys obviously figured out ways to go much deeper. Can you talk a little bit of the how you're able to do that?
Well, we're using the kind of marketing data that exists on households that large companies use extensively to help drive personalization. Right. And basically segmentation. We, by benefit of being within the Fidelity ecosystem, have, decades of experience with those types of marketing data providers. And really, we're providing, if you think about, what's the classic scenario? You get an inbound request on an email, via an email or via your website. The person's first name and last name, maybe their email address, maybe their phone number. Some advisors will take the extra step of researching those individuals online to find out more about them. That type of profile data can be now pulled in automatically via Catchlight across all the prospects So basically, what stage of life they're in, what's their likely financial situation, what's their educational background, what's their professional background, And then really what Catchlight is doing, I think, is thinking about, how do you understand who the best prospect is to engage with at any point in time? Because really, financial advice is oftentimes triggered by a life event or some scenario that the individual is going or their family's going through. So we're constantly monitoring that data and applying a proprietary scoring algorithm to that we've developed off of looking at now hundreds of thousands of households that have sought paid financial advice. And what do they have in common? And AI, machine learning. I'm sure your folks are all watching the fascinating things that are going on with ChatGPT and OpenAI. There's so much going on in the AI space where these tools and methodologies, I think, are reaching a point where they're actually usable by individuals like us to drive meaningful decisions.
I know time and energy are hot commodities for advisors out there. And certainly one of the most frustrating things we can do is spend 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes researching someone that was a referral. And by the time you get to the end of the research, you may think, this is not going to be a real good fit. I don't think this is going to be a great referral. And you feel like you just burned that time. I don't do it that frequently, but I'd imagine I probably do it more than I know. I know you guys have a study that just came out. You mentioned some fascinating stats earlier. How about you talk a little bit about how much time I, as an advisor, on average, am putting into researching people?
Yeah, that is fascinating. So we have been gathering data now for over 18 months on how advisors think about prospecting and marketing, and getting feedback in terms of what's converting, not converting. And based on all that data now, hundreds of firms using Catchlight, you can begin to get some really interesting insights. How are the fastest growing advisors using their time? What types of approaches are they using versus those that aren't growing as fast? And how do you make that possible for others to learn from? Kind of like a benchmarking type thing. We've got a study coming out along those lines in the next couple of weeks that we'll definitely share with you and your audience. But one of the tidbits in there is we dug deeply into how much time advisors are actually spending on this type of research, and also helping them quantify it, because it's one of those things where you don't oftentimes realize how much time you're spending looking for data on prospects. And the surprising thing was that across hundreds of advisors, the average, which was kind of shocking, was that they were spending up to 6 hours a week doing this kind of research. Now, I know that doesn't apply to everybody, but it is fascinating.
Yeah, I think part of it is if it was me doing it, I'm just going down rabbit trails. I don't have a specific process of, okay, I just got a referral. How do I research this person? Well, LinkedIn, that's great. So I get name and title. And yes, maybe that'll help with age and stage of life and things along that line. But is that really giving me insight into any life event that may have just happened? If they had lost their job or they were going to retire, that may not even be updated on LinkedIn yet. Right. So yes, I can do a little bit of that. But what I would have access to probably seems like it's a fraction of what a data company might have access to.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I come from, my background's with Thomson Reuters, where we were developing these kind of solutions for a number of verticals. One of which I've been really deep on, surprisingly, is the legal industry. A lot of work going on in the legal spaces to, on the B2B side, which are the best firms to engage with, and how do you best forge a relationship with those organizations. And then on the individual side, solutions like FindLaw, which are basically about, how do you identify the best solutions, the best individuals that might be seeking legal advice.
Well, I'm always a fan of any company that is figuring out how to harness big data and help me save time and energy, become more effective. Hadn't really thought about it much on prospecting other than traditional mass marketing. So what you guys are working on, what's come out of Fidelity Labs, it's pretty cool. So looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the future, and we'll see you in March at Shift.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Ross. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for listening to Shift with Ross Marino. Please visit humanfirst.live to learn more. This show is for general information purposes only and is not intended to provide recommendations or advice. Speak with a legal, tax, or financial advisor before making any decisions. Past performance references are historical and do not guarantee future results.